here with Dino McCord of Sacramento-based band Red Voodoo. Dino, thanks so much for taking time to talk to us today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Kevin.
Absolutely. Really excited about your project. I've been, reading a lot about it, listening to some of the music, and sounds like you guys are well on your way to doing some great things, and at such an early age, so young, just jumping into it, not wait until you're in your 20s, just do it now. Get it started, right?
Yeah, started young, man. Started young.
That's awesome. How did the name Red Voodoo come about? How did you guys decide how to name the band?
So, before we were Red Voodoo, we were actually a Van Halen tribute band. We played around the NorCal scene, doing the clubs, bars, that kind of deal. And we were really big fans of Van Halen and really big fans of Sammy Hagar. And we were looking for an original name because at the time, the name we were using, everyone and their mom used it. It was Teaser. And that was my dad's old band name back in the day, 30 years ago. And so Red Voodoo is actually a Sammy Hagar album with Sammy Hagar and the Wabaritos. And we thought, Red Voodoo was a cool sounding name. It was fitting for, just our vibe and our style. And we really enjoyed it.
Awesome. So yeah, obviously the Sammy Hagar fan base and everything like that,
yeah,
and
they're behind it.
So I didn't know you guys, although I think I did hear a couple covers on YouTube. I didn't know you guys were a tribute band to Van Halen. That's really awesome.
Yeah. We did both David Lee Roth and Sammy Hagar, and we had like a 4-hour set and just played anywhere we could. It was really fun.
It was interesting. I was just reading yesterday an article about singer Patti Smythe. I don't know if you're familiar with her. She was from a band called Scandal back in the day. They asked her to do the lead vocals after David Lee Roth left.
I saw something like that. Yeah, and I think Patty's, I don't remember what she said, but she declined, of course.
I think she said she was a little bit worried about the rock and roll lifestyle that they were leading at the time, and just thought, right. I don't know if I'm ready to go out and do that right now in my career. But how flattering to be asked,
I know, right?
So
history that's forgotten that comes up again,
And then they had Gary Cherone from Extreme for a brief period of time. So yeah, so it's interesting, the whole history of Van Halen. Watching it, I think I've seen them both. Well, I've seen them both times with David, with Sammy, and I think actually with Gary too. To be honest with you,
all three, yeah.
Yeah, so the trifecta on that, yeah. So love the band, and that's really cool to hear you guys were a tribute band. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and because we got Rise Up, our single, out right now,
right?
That we're really proud of. But the songs that we're writing now, we're about to release an EP soon. Hopefully in the next couple of months. And since we've been playing Van Halen tunes for so long, that's our main influence with the writing because we're so used to it. So we want to bring that California party rock vibe back.
Awesome. Let me ask you, we're going to talk about the single in just a second here, but I want to ask you real fast, how did you guys come together? Did you all go to school together, different schools, area band members, or?
Yeah, man. So we're all from different areas. I'm from Sacramento. David Lloyd, a guitar player. He's from Amarillo County in Ione. So we're all scattered. But it was kind of like, I don't know. I believe in fate. I think fate brought us together, really. And I met my drummer Nick Peasley, great drummer, great guy, one of the most positive people I know. At a Y&T concert.
Oh, okay.
And that was my first show, and I was looking to form a band. My very first band, because I left, before I was a singer, I was a keyboard player and guitar player in a kid band. I started music when I was in, I believe, 6th grade. So I want to get serious with music to start a band, and I found drummer Nick Peasley at a Y&T show, and, kind of went from there.
It just goes to show kind of how, like, when you're out around music people, you got to talk to them, because had you not talked to the guy, you wouldn't have known that he was your future band member. You're around music people.
Right. Well, I had to find somebody, because no offense to people in your generation, I want to play with people, my age.
Yeah, of course,
you're at a Y&T show, and you're like, man, there's no
Yeah, because they've been around forever.
My age, or yeah. But it was pretty cool, and it just happened that we were in the same room. We both liked the same artists, and we were like, hey, let's form a band, see what happens.
And then how about the other guys?
Well, we had a long time, because this band's been together for 2 years, and most of the 2 years was just doing covers. So we've had some members in and out, a guitar player that had to leave. But David, our awesome guitar player, man, I gotta tell you, that guy is the next Eddie Van Halen. I don't know if you've
Wow.
seen him. I don't think Rise Up does justice with how good he is as a guitar player. But he actually started out on bass because we had a guitar player at the time, and he started on bass, and it was just kind of like super like insane moment from a movie when you see, he's like, hey, I play guitar, and we just had to let this guitar player go. And he walks in with his EVH Wolfgang, plugs in, and just plays Eruption like no one's business. It was insane.
Wow. So it's kind of that fate thing again. Like you guys were bummed because you had to let a guitarist go, and then he shows up out of nowhere.
Right. So now we have no guitar player. We have a guitar player now, but now we have no bass player because our bass player went to guitar player. So my pops, and we'll talk about this later with his history with Frank Hannon, but he plays bass. So he played with us some shows for a while. And then, dude, it's nuts, man. We're on Craigslist, and, I've been looking for a bass player for a long time, because I love my pops, I love my dad and stuff. But, I want some my own age. So we're just going through Craigslist, and it goes, young guitar player, wants to be in a band, right? So Drew, who's our bass player now, great guy, one of the best bass players I've ever played with. We converted him from a guitar player to a bass player.
Okay.
But his playing style is, really good for a bass player, so it worked out great. But man, it's just crazy, So when people ask me, how did your band form? It's a longer story than you might think.
Well, hopefully 20 years from now, hopefully you look back at this and say, yeah, remember that Craigslist ad? Remember this? Remember with the YNT concert? Hopefully that's like memories that you guys have 20 years down and say, wow, because it's so interesting how I always am fascinated by how people come together to make music, Yeah,
and the thing, back in the 80s and stuff, just talking to my pops and, it was the thing, it was easy to find band members and stuff, maybe not bass players, but it's still hard to find bass players today, man. We had to convert one. But, today, my generation, I'm 17 years old, and, they're not really into, bands and like actual instruments. It's all digitalized on the computer, that sort of thing. So it was especially hard here in Sacramento to find serious and passionate guys to play with.
Right.
We found it.
That's good. That's good. I teach some music lessons. One of the different things I do in my life, I teach music lessons, vocal, and then mostly like woodwinds and a little bit keyboard and stuff. But It's always interesting when I talk to my students, my young students, and they tell me who their influences are. And I'm always so blown away that so many of these kids are taking the time to listen to what their parents listen to, and that their parents are influencing them. We're starting a whole nother generation on all the classic rock. Man. I love it. It's girls great. And guys. Girls and guys, like and guys. Queen and all these bands that it's just always so cool. So I hope that like one person at a time we can kind of continue to get people in your generation to realize all the great music that happened and to keep it alive.
I probably shouldn't say this, but we have a new song on the EP that's called "Bring It Back."
Oh, and cool.
I haven't talked about this on any interview, but since we're on Zoom and just talking about it. There's no harm there. But, the story of Bring It Back is the first song actually we ever wrote as a band, original song. And it's about bringing back that music to my generation.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Because, there's music that continues to come out. And, radio today, a little bit different. Radio is kind of almost like a flavor of the week kind of thing, unfortunately. And, but when you dig deep on the internet, you can find that there's still some young bands in all genres of music still making good music. It just doesn't always get to see the light of day in national, international media,
Right.
So it's just hoping to get that all back out there and to help people to realize all the great music that can be made still.
Yeah, and our heroes, Red Voodoo's heroes, the newer bands that we've come to love, like Greta Van Fleet.
Oh yeah.
Dirty Honey. Those are the big two that we really look up to, and we're hoping to get on that train of bands to start a new generation of rock and roll for our generation. So that's the hope.
Both those bands are certainly on their way to doing that. So that's great. So you guys should jump on that. That'd be fantastic. We just want to see more of it. There's just so much. There's so much to be done yet in music.
I think there's a revival coming. I really do.
everything kind of seems to go full cycle in life, so hopefully that's the case, and we'll get back to some of the great classic rock and roll, with new ideas and new lyrics, new melodies, and just breathe some life into it again. So
yeah, for sure, man.
I wanted to ask you, I wanted you to tell me a little bit about the single Rise Up, and that you're currently promoting. Maybe tell me a little bit about how it came together, and what you guys are doing with it to promote it right now.
Yeah, for sure. So I live in downtown Sacramento, California, and I wrote the lyrics back in February when it was darker then than it is now, the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah.
And it was just really depressing. My high school graduation got canceled. A lot of my friends, all their stuff got canceled. It was just people are walking around, feeling uneasy, dodging each other here and there when I take walks and stuff. And I just had to get away from it all. So I took a ride in the back roads, and I thought to myself, the state in the world that we're living in,
yeah,
it was very sad, dark, and I just wrote down what I felt, what other people were feeling, and I got home, notebook and pen, stayed up till 4 a.m. with my acoustic guitar, wrote the meat and potatoes of the song, and the next morning I said, "Hey Frank, here's a little draft I got." Sent him a little video clip, and the light bulb went on in his head.
It's such a cool story, and it's the songwriting process is such a neat process. I want to talk to you a little more about that in a minute.
Yeah.
But there's so much to it. It's so neat when something just comes together. When it's not forced, when it just happens, and the words just start spinning, and the melodies, the chords.
Man, it's magic, man. It's magic. I know there's other artists out there that are like, "Hey, it's magic," but I'll tell you, this was it, man. This was like, boom, mind blowing.
And this is the song then that takes you on this journey. This is how it starts, so it's like it's an important song because this is your people, the first thing that people hear about you.
I like that this is the first song for Red Voodoo's debut because it shoots out a really positive message about hope, but it's not a song. I mean, the song's about girls and partying, that's great and all, but when you get your first song and it just hits people right in the heart, that's when I think it makes an impact.
Well, lyrics have always been something that's important to me, as a music fan, and it is so cool to listen to lyrics that have a meaning and are inspirational like that takes you somewhere, a balance of the, like you said, the fun of life, and then the inspirational positive, keeping people on a positive path, because it's very easy in this time for people to get really pulled down and think, why is this happening to me? Like you said, I was going to talk about that. You just finished up high school and ready to graduate, big graduation ceremony, and then this just all kind of caves on us,
Right.
So it's like, it's good for people to see at any age, to see someone with inspirational lyrics and a positive message, it's great.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it's about hope. By the end of the day, that's what Rise Up is about.
And I love the single. I love the harmonies I hear. There's those nice harmonies in the background.
Van Halen influence, I'll tell you.
Yeah, well, definitely, for sure.
Little Tesla influence there too.
I hear that. I definitely hear that. Yep, I definitely hear that. I can't imagine. But the video is very well done. Even like,
thank you.
Sometimes you see videos that they look like they've been made at a different level, like more of a local production. Your video looks so, and I know it's because, all your work with Frank and everything, that video looks so well done.
Hey, I'll tell you a secret, man. The guy, Colton Hall, he's 18 years old, and he went to high school with me. And, Frank was like, "Hey, let's use my people." And I said, "No, man, I want to give this kid a shot." So I will say Colton Hall did the whole entire video. And, and thank you. That's a big compliment to think that, it was a really small budget, you see, and I think what we pulled off and what he pulled off, and I think he's going to go far in film and photography and all that stuff, and he's doing a couple other music videos coming up soon for Red Voodoo and Lux, a new band, a really good friend of ours, his band. But yeah, that was all filmed by a high school graduate, just graduated, my good friend, and phenomenal job.
That's even more impressive to know. I had no idea. I just assumed that the production company got really involved and everything. And I mean, I'm sure they had part in it, of course, to get it all to him. But he did the production work. He put it together. Your friend.
Yeah, he edited it, videoed it. He had the drone shots. It was great.
Think about that. 2020, we're using drones. I mean, that's something that they couldn't have that use drones back in the day. You watch a football game or something, I see the drones right above the field and all that. It's amazing how the technology. This is a great time to be making music because there's so much technology, visually and audio.
Of course,
audio manner.
Think about it. We bring the great music back from your generation and the technology from my generation,
and combine it. Yeah,
it'll be great.
Even down to the lettering of the video name in the corner, that's the old like MTV lettering. Like, when videos were on
that's
MTV.
What we were going for.
It's noted. I noted it right away. I thought, wow, this is really intense. It looks like it came right off of like an MTV video because
that's awesome. Thank you.
You see things. You see people making videos and it looks, the lettering looks like, oh, they made it, in their home studio like this, and it's okay if they did, of course. But it's just like it means that it looks like it, something that would come right off of MTV.
Yeah, and it was with the video, and that was cool that you caught like the cable font we used for the MTV logo. But just with the setting of the music video, Rise Up, we wanted it because when we filmed it, people were still locked down, so we wanted it to be outside where it was more breath of fresh air and kind of just a kind of cool summer vibe.
It was very cool how it started. You jump in the back of the truck and you guys take out. It's just very well done. I just have to say it one more time. Very well done.
Thank you.
So I don't want to dwell on the fact that we're all going through this time with the virus and everything. But besides your graduation, it's had to kind of change some of your plans. I mean, you probably want to get out there and do a lot of live shows. I don't know if you've been able to do some small live shows in places, or how is it all changing right now?
It's just a lot of practices, and this is a good segue for me to promote this Friday. Red Voodoo's going down to LA for a month. I don't know if you heard of it, but it's called the Monsters of Rock Cruise.
Yes. Actually, I'm gonna real quick tie into this just to kind of put it all together. So I know that one of the bands you've toured with is Enough's Enough, that you've done a show with Enough's Enough, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And I just interviewed Chip a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about his Monsters of Rock Cruise, that whole thing, that he's
the live stream.
Yeah,
we're gonna be on it. Yeah,
that's awesome.
So this Friday, at 6 p.m. on the Monsters of Rock Cruise Facebook page, we'll be performing Red Voodoo's kind of world debut to everybody, playing our songs, playing Bring It Back on there. With also JT Lux, another artist in Frank Hannon Productions company, our good friend, opening for us. We're going to play some Hagar tunes, play some originals, maybe play some Tesla with Frank. Also have Britt Lightning from Vixen. She's going to come and be a special guest on the show as well.
Sounds like a great show. Show.
Hey, best part, it's free.
Yeah, they can't beat that, right? Can't beat the price.
Right.
Do you have any idea how long they're going to let you play and stuff, and how many songs you'll be able to play, or?
I think we're doing about 10 songs, I believe.
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And, it's just really great, this live stream. We're really thankful and appreciative that we could do this because, as you said, there's no live shows right now. Yeah. And, this live stream is the closest to it. And especially, Monsters of Rock Cruise. I mean, if you've seen their stage and their setup, and I don't know if Chip talked about it or not, but, I mean, it's phenomenal. I mean, you got, the lights in the background and lights on the floor, and it's just a cool setup. And we're just really thankful we could do it.
And that's this coming Friday, you said, correct?
That's this coming Friday, yes. July 31st, 6 p.m. Pacific time.
Okay.
Right. And I think that's 9 Eastern.
That's fantastic. That's something to look forward to for sure in a time when we can't go see live music. This is the next best thing, like you said.
Yeah, it's going to be a great, it's going to be a great show. It's not just Red Voodoo. It's Lux and Frank and Britt Lightning, and it's going to be an awesome just jam.
Fantastic. Something to look forward to for sure. For you guys and your fans,
Yes.
With the video, I know that, and with the song, I know with your merchandise, you're trying to do some things to help the medical community right now.
Yeah, man. So we got the Rise Up bundle going on our website, redvoodooband.com. And, with the release of Rise Up, we wanted to do something to give back, especially during these times, these uncertain times. And we want to give back to our healthcare heroes on the front lines. So we set up a charity alignment with Direct Relief Foundation. And we set up this cool Rise Up bundle to promote the song and to help them out. We got the Rise Up limited t-shirt, the autograph photo from our photo shoot with all of our signatures on it. And then also Wait, I think I got it right here. Oh, maybe. Oh, yeah, I do. I got a bag right here. The Rise Up picks. We got those made. Those are pretty cool. And you get a couple of those in your package as well.
Which anybody who is a classic rock fan and has gone to a lot of shows, that's the big deal. I was just talking to a friend yesterday about some of the guitar picks I've collected over the years from, from being at a show and one gets flipped out into the audience or whatever.
Right, you catch it or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, or you meet your idol, and they hand you one. Even even better, if they hand you their guitar pick, you like, really? This just happened, kind of thing. Man. So I was looking. I didn't realize some of the ones I found. I was like, I didn't even realize I had these because they're so long ago now. Well, I'm not that old, and I wasn't walking with the dinosaurs. But it's been a while. So yeah. I still go to a lot of shows. I mean, in pre-COVID, of course, I've go to a lot of shows, and it's scenes. My musical tastes are all over the place, but all my idols still have gone and seen them. And someone hands you a guitar pick personally, you're like, wow, this really just happened.
Right? Yeah, man, it's crazy.
And some of them are really unique and creative, and I saw you had like some writing on it. Was it the logo or was there something else in there?
Here, I'll show you it. Yeah. So forgive me on my camera skills. But yeah, so right there is our logo, Red Voodoo. Okay. And then on the back it says Rise Up.
That's right awesome.
Yeah, so they're really cool, man. And we'll be playing those. We'll be playing with those picks on our live stream and stuff. And we don't really know if we're going to do merchandise selling on the live stream or not, but if we do, hopefully those are on it.
Yeah, well, hopefully. I mean, because a big part of it is that some of the profits from proceeds are going to help, so that's a great way to be able to promote that.
Of course, yeah. For the charity for our bundle, yeah.
Now, I think maybe in one of the interviews, I tried to watch as much as I could to prepare for talking with you, and I think one of your interviews you might have mentioned Foreigner. I'm trying to remember, is possibly one of the classic rock bands you follow.
Well, the biggest one, the bands that we follow is, of course, Sammy Hagar.
Right.
That's probably the end all say all of our biggest influence, along with Van Halen. So Van Hagar.
Yeah.
But yeah, funny thing is, Sammy Hagar was actually the first concert I've ever, went to go see.
As a solo artist?
No, it was actually, Sammy Hagar in the Circle.
Okay, yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
Back in 2017. And this is before I met Nick at that Y&T show. That was my second concert. But after then, I started to grow out my hair and, actually fell in love with singing. After seeing Sammy Hagar up there, dancing and singing around, especially at the age that he, in his late 70s or early 70s, my bad. And, I just fell in love with music. I went home and started belting out 5150 and OU812 in the shower, and it was really awesome.
So much great music in their catalog, So much.
Yeah. Music. Oh, with the solo stuff and Van Halen stuff, and that they got Jason Bonham up there so they could do some Zeppelin. It's pretty cool.
That's great. Yeah. So it's neat then because you have this. You kind of carry on part of that legacy with your band name. That I know I've read in some interviews that that's a big part of it, but by the same token, the concept of Red Voodoo just means having a good time and having fun.
Right.
And so like you got the band name Red Voodoo, kind of really we don't. I know you said at one point you don't know what Sammy's definition of Red Voodoo means to him, but to you guys it means having a good time and having fun and basking in his music in the past too.
Exactly. Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then we're hoping we're trying to reach out to the guy to see if we could possibly get a tour with him come 2021. And that would be very, that'd be like, well, like you said, like that surreal moment, but just on a different level, it'd be just crazy.
Well, he does a lot of different things too. He's got his TV show he does. He's got his rock show. Maybe some way to be featured on there even somehow. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
The sky's the limit.
But you'll see some really cool Hagar tunes this coming Friday. Some jams will do. Even getting back to his stuff in the '70s. Capital years, but yeah, it's going to be a great show.
3 Lock Box, 80s I Can't Drive 55, some of the early solo hits and some of the classic album cuts too. Yeah, not necessarily those on your set, but I mean just like I'm just thinking back to some of those songs and
Oh yeah, we cover it.
Do you? Awesome.
Yeah.
So you talked about the EP. When do you think the EP is going to hit?
So I'm thinking the next couple of months. I think. Okay. I'm not totally sure. Not really up to me. But
right, sure.
Yeah, but we've been really focusing on our songwriting, writing quality, good songs that people will enjoy and like. And, me sitting down with my lyrics and writing lyrics all the time. And this was more of an acoustic kind of song that you saw. We had a vibe that wanted to be that everyone would enjoy,
Yeah.
all ages and stuff. And that's what we still want to go towards. But we're a little more rockin' this time, little more party rock.
Because I was going to ask you about a full length, and that's great to hear you have an EP that kind of bridges the gap between maybe the time it'll take to make a full length and
yeah. Well, we're planning on it for sure.
And knowing that your influences, like your dad and his music, and then Frank and his music, going back to an older generation when things were CDs and when it was physical distribution. Where are you guys at with that whole thing? I mean, as far as, are you going to release it digitally and physically, or what's your plan at this point?
Well, right now I'm pretty sure that we're just gonna release it just streaming for right now, only because if we release it physically, that's a whole nother ballpark of things we have to deal with. We don't know if people want to come up and buy it in person, or shipping it, or but we're not totally sure yet. So we'll see. I know that having a physical copy, I have my record collection somewhere, but having a physical copy is, with all your stuff on your back wall right there, is very important to have. And that's something I'll bring up and talk about and see what we could do.
Just because, I mean, even like, so just like younger people come to shows of classic rockers, you're going to impress a lot of the generation that likes that music, because they're going to say, I mean, Greta Van Fleet for sure. I mean, there are a lot of people my age who are huge into them right now. I know, family members, friends that are like, this band is the real deal, and so it's like those people live in that world of physical CDs and posters and the guitar picks, the stuff that t-shirts, all that stuff. Merch is real important, I think,
we're gonna have
walk away from the show.
Plenty of more merchandise, coming soon. That'll be really cool.
That's great. When you listen to music, I know you said you've got your record collection,
right?
So is that, I mean, of course, the convenience of streaming and listening to something online or whatever, but as far as if you had your preference to, like, for sound quality, because they say sometimes, with digital, you compress a lot of that sound, and when you're doing all that hard work in the studio and you want to hear those layers of everything,
yeah.
How do you feel about the whole sound between let's say between CDs, records, and digital, MP3s?
All right. Do I have to rank them, or is this like what I prefer?
No, I'm just curious what you prefer. Just what, yeah.
I would think for just easy, just putting on a song streaming, because it's so convenient.
Right.
But for sound quality, and just because I'm an old soul, I would go records all the way. Yeah. Just a good Eagles record, throwing it on and it sounds great.
It was interesting because when CDs came out, everybody was like, oh, CDs, it's just this really bright sound and it's perfect. That's all digital and everything. And then it started to swing again now with records saying, hey, the live sound, you can't capture it better without a record. Like, people kind of started saying, oh, the CD is a little bit, sounds kind of, just too perfect. Right. Whereas the record, you picked up some things that you didn't hear on a CD, or definitely not on MP3,
Right, yeah. But I'm a record guy, I would say. I collect records. I don't think I even have a CD lying around anywhere.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm a total record or streaming,
So what's your prized possession? Like, if you, vinyl wise, like, what would you take the time to buy on vinyl as opposed to just listening to it in a stream?
Oh man, probably, I got the Sammy Hagar VOA album that I really like. That's a great prized possession that I have that I think it's really cool.
Did you buy it like brand new, or did you buy it used? Did you find it out in, like, because some of these vinyl, vinyl is coming out again in the market where it's being sold brand new, and 180 gram vinyl and all that stuff.
And I collect used, not because I'm cheap like that, but also because I just think vinyl is the used vinyl. Not only you get a better deal, but I don't know, I just feel like it's just has more soul to it, has more of the story. I do the same
thing too. It's well loved, it's well used, and
it's like a comic book,
Yeah.
So I'd rather get an old comic book than a newer comic book.
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. And then, when I buy new vinyl, I find myself not opening it because I think of it as a collectible. So I may as well buy it used so I could actually play it and enjoy it,
Yeah. So or buy two. You buy one to play it, and then you just buy one to store it.
I like that idea. And I'm sure artists would like that idea. Thinking a little more, money coming towards them if it's a new CD, new vinyl, a little more
Right.
revenue, because that's a big part today too. I mean, you guys want to have a career in music, and you want this to last, to be enduring, that you don't have to find a day job, that this is going to be your thing,
Exactly.
And so you have to be able to think about, how do we monetize this in a world where digital music and streaming is the thing. These artists used to, and granted, they didn't get a lot of money from their records. You hear the stories about how they sold 1 million copies, and yet they were still paying the record label back sometimes.
Yeah, Frank told us that story. Yeah,
lots of stories like that. I'm sure he could tell you. And so, but still, it was still part of the monetizing your career, by being able to make a living, making some money on the selling of the music. Whereas now a lot of it's the merch and the tours.
Yeah, merch is really important right now, and I would say if we're on tour right now, selling merch and just ticket sales, that's pretty much it, because a lot of with the Spotify and Apple Music, it's convenient, but the artists, they make like Bitcoin or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Unfortunately, very true. Very true.
Yeah.
With all the social media sites out there, all the social networking that's out there, and what do you think is the best place for people to find your music, or to find out about the band? Not just like the music, like Spotify, Pandora kind of things, but to hear you're talking about the upcoming projects and everything.
Yeah. We post all of our interviews on redvoodooBand.com.
Okay.
Our own website. So that's, and that has your gateways to our Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. And, it's a one-stop shop for Red Voodoo.
That's where they got to go, right there. Okay. That's straight to the, okay, good.
Yeah.
Cool. So I know that you play, besides your lead vocal duties, of course, you kind of do rhythm guitar in the band, correct?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
And I'm sure that even though you're not you're working in vocals, there's lead guitar, you got your lead guitarist and everything, but you're a guitar player, period. And who are your guitar heroes? Like, I know Sammy, obviously you guys are big fans of the Van Halen, Eddie Van Halen, his guitar playing, but beyond that, who else do you look to for guitar specifically?
Right. Sammy Hagar, of course, is a big one. Trying to think, I'm on the spot here now.
Well, I mean, you've already given us Sammy and Eddie, so I guess you're good.
Ronnie Montrose.
Okay.
That's a big one. Yeah. Ronnie's a big one. The guitar player in Boston, Gary Pill. He was Sammy Hagar's guitar player when they played back in the day, for his solo stuff, and he moved on to be in Boston. He's a big influence on myself too, and probably Vic Johnson, the guitar player Sambo has now.
All right, great. Now, how about going towards vocally? Now, who are your vocal influences? I've read a lot about, and I've read a couple, but I want you to tell our audience a little bit about that, and also just the fact that you're,
So of course, Sammy Hagar, that. I would say Paul Rogers from Bad Company. He's a big influence. I would say David Coverdale from Whitesnake. He's a big influence as well. And then Sam Cooke, Otis Redding, more of the soulful guys. Even going deeper in their catalog. So I would say those, and then Dave Medichetti from Y&T.
Okay. So yeah, it's so neat to hear you mention these classic artists, and going way back into the R&B catalog too, to hear like Sam Cooke and Otis Redding. That's awesome.
Any Eagles singer.
Eagles singer. I know you mentioned before throwing an Eagles record on, so I figured you were a fan. Yeah, you mentioned throwing on a record. Yeah, for sure. Right, there's some great vocals. I think it's always neat when you can share the vocal duties with a couple guys in the band. Like, think about the Eagles.
Yeah, Drew and Dave, and I will say, when I formed this band, I wanted good vocals and quality vocals, but it's hard to come by. So when Dave and Drew, when we sang, what was it, Summer Nights off of 5150 for the first time.
Awesome.
When we played that cover in my garage, I mean, it was like the light bulb went on. Like, whoa, like this is like, sounds like the record almost, And it's just great when you could have two other really good singers accompany you, because it brings a whole nother aspect. Live, I could be singing something and they'll sing the ooze behind me, and you'll see the crowd in the audience singing the ooze because it's such a hook. And even back with Sam Cooke and Otis Redding, back with their records back in the day, it was always the backup vocals that really just had a good magic to it.
It was such an important part of a record, is the backups. I agree. It just fills it out. It fills everything out, and people grab onto those hooks in the background, like you said. And it's the whole
human,
picture. Yeah. So once we get back to doing some shows again, who would be like the dream tour? What would be the dream tour for you guys to open for some? I know you've mentioned a couple here and there, but like, what do you think would be that dream tour lineup? Within at where you are in your career right now. Big picture, like, hey, we've got 3 records and we're growing. But what about right now? Where do you think you can get that?
Right now, man, I would say if I had to give you 4 artists, Sammy Hagar on the Circle would be huge. Tesla would be huge. Dirty Honey and Greta Van Fleet, because I believe with Dirty Honey and Greta Van Fleet, those 2 bands, I feel like having a young band open up for a young band, I think it would just create such a large new fan base that would start the revival of rock and roll.
I completely agree with you. I think that's important that if you can get, of course, it's always flattering to be connected with an artist that you followed all these years, that's someone that's done this. But if you can get on board with someone that's in your same generation like that, has that success, huge, huge.
Just Greta Van Fleet, I think they were open up for Metallica. I think they were supposed to this summer, or I think in September, but it got canceled. But I mean, Greta Van Fleet, we're huge fans of those guys.
Well, hopefully that's something that, can be worked out somewhere down the road. That'd be awesome. And and I'm sure, talking to Tesla, you might have a couple people you might know to be able to talk about that thing, try to get the Tesla thing to happen. You might have a couple connections,
We'll see. I might know a
guy. So how did you get to work with Frank? How did that come about?
So, did I mention my pops working with Frank before?
You hadn't. I have read about that. I did read, but I kind of wanted you to tell us a little bit about it. Yeah, I did read about that.
So growing up, my dad's always told me stories about Frank. It's kind of like his claim to fame. He was in bands in the late 80s, early 90s, and Frank produced one of his records or whatever. But anyways, Nirvana came in and pretty much destroyed my dad's band. And, the 90s wave kind of happened. He was he had a good job, my mom, all that stuff. And anyway, so growing up, he's told me about Frank, about how, hey, the heroes from Sacramento, guitar player, helping my band. Right. So that was pretty cool. And I've heard about Frank here and there and listened to some Tesla songs. But, one day I decided to reach out to Frank Hannon over Facebook. Right. And I'm sitting in class and I just text Frank, I just text him. I'm like, hey, man, I'm a singer. I got this band, Red Voodoo, and we're looking to do original stuff and hoping to get my band to the next level. And he replied and said, call me Monday. And I was like, oh, whoa, that's Frank Hannon, right? So anyways, so we talk, and I always remember this. He calls me up, he goes, hey, man, so you want to be a rock star, huh? And I said, yeah, that's the plan. He goes, this is going to be your life now. I was like, I said, hey, I'm along for the ride. So, we got talking and anyways, he had a show that weekend at the Powerhouse Pub in Folsom down here by me. And he invited me to come sing Getting Better by Tesla that night.
I did hear about that. I did.
You heard about that?
I did read about one of your maybe a YouTube interview or maybe something, but I read about that. It's like, what an amazing experience that had to be.
Oh, it was just so crazy, and Frank heard about me before I even reached out to him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I guess he'd heard from multiple accounts. A member in Frank Hannon's band, and then also JT Lux, who's opening up for us for the Monsters Rock 2's live stream. He actually told Frank about me singing a Van Halen cover at one of our shows in the NorCal scene. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, so I was up all night, because I was up all night learning Getting Better by Tesla. And I'll admit it, and Frank knows it too. I knew Modern Day Cowboy and I knew Love Song, and that was about it. Now I know the whole catalog. Now, of course, I know the whole catalog. But I went there and it was crazy. We went to Frank's place. And my dad and Frank re-met. It was funny. Frank was like, hey, you were the buff guy. Yeah, he thought my dad was the drummer. So just to let you know, my dad didn't call Frank, or it was nothing like that. It was 30 years ago. So it was really cool that I kind of got to do it on my own with my own merit and, make it happen for myself and for the band and for Red Voodoo.
Well, that's such an important thing for people to hear that want to get started in a career with music. And I'm going to ask you a question about that in a little bit too.
Yeah.
But since we're talking about it, it's like, think about that. So in today's world, with all of the different ways to reach people, back when Tesla was making their first records, to get that record label deal, I mean, it was so hard to reach anybody. You couldn't get through to a record. You couldn't hop on Facebook and type a text. You couldn't do that. You couldn't send a Twitter message. You couldn't go into, whatever, Instagram. You couldn't reach these people that way. And they were protected. They were protected by personal assistants and head honchos that wouldn't let you talk to them. You couldn't get to these people. And today, in today's world, you send a text across and you reach them. And that's what I think people need to know, that it's more possible than ever, I think, to reach people that are important in your career to help you get started. And I think that people who have been doing it for a while appreciate where they've been and what they had to do to get there. And they look back on their career and they want to help people. I think Frank is someone that really wants to help people.
Thank God for Frank, because he told me, and that's exactly paying it forward. And hopefully, if my career takes off and and Red Voodoo has a good career, and another band that's young, I'm going to pay it forward to them. It's the right thing to do,
Yeah.
And, it's kind of cool. And the history is Ronnie Montrose helped Tesla, and now Frank's helping us. So it was just kind of a cool lineage that one day I'll pay forward.
And you'll keep it going. You won't break the chain. You'll just keep it going. Yeah, because we got to keep music alive and keep
music alive, man.
Yeah, that's fantastic. But I just think it's so much easier. It's it still could be, it depends on who's on the other side of the line. But I just feel like there's more hope when I talk to my students and everything about how you reach these people that maybe can make an impact. To not be afraid to try to reach out. All they could do is say no, or they could decide that they can't reply. But better chance than back in the day,
Yeah. For sure.
So there's so many more ways to reach them in a very casual way. So
you'll never know until you take a shot at it.
And you also, as you probably have learned, you have to be okay with no sometimes. You might have you have to accept 99 no's before you get that first yes. Sometimes when you're for gigs, for everything.
Oh yeah, it's really important. Yeah, you should know that to accept the no's. And then when you get that one yes, it's more special.
Absolutely, because I mean, there's bands. I mean, I think back to like band, like Linkin Park, for example. Linkin Park went around to all the labels and tried to sell their music, and everybody turned them down. Everybody, every major, all the five majors at the time, all turned them down, and they came back around to the label they ended up with Warner Brothers, and they took them in. And look at the career that they had. I mean, huge career. So it's like, how they go full circle like that, and they went around to everybody. They could have given up. If they had given up, they wouldn't have ended up with the career they had.
Exactly.
So it's just being able to say, hey, it's like you said, it makes the yes that much cooler, when you get that yes,
Yeah, for sure.
So like I said, it's got to be really exciting it's so early in your history of the band to be working with such a high profile, producer, someone who can really help you guys along like that. It's got to be just amazing to have that feedback. And
it's I'll say this, it's like Frank is such a down to earth kind of guy, and I don't know if you've ever interviewed him before, but he's just super cool, relaxed, chill kind of dude, very down to earth. That you kind of forget, he's so humble that you kind of forget that he played the Download Festival last year or something,
Yeah, that's great.
But it's been such a pleasure. I mean, we're still working with him, but it's been a pleasure to work with him, writing Rise Up and him helping us out with our new material and this Monsters of Rock Cruise live stream that we just been rehearsing for over the weekend. We had a long rehearsal for that, but he's just such a friendly guy and just really helpful.
And that's so important at this time because it gives you the confidence to push forward when you've got the backing of someone who's been around the block and back in this music business. To have that backing gives you the confidence to push forward and not look back.
It's different when your friends say you're good and then when Frank Hannon says you're good,
Right. Just you start to believe it a little more. You say, we must have something here. Frank Hannon's saying that we're doing all right, you start to really believe.
I will say about Red Voodoo is that we us four guys not only bring something to the table that's very unique, but our chemistry together is just on stage and off stage is just unbelievable. We're just we just vibe and jive really well.
That's so important. I mean, because you've seen it in many bands. If the bands don't get along, it starts to bleed into their career, and eventually,
Right.
causes doom and gloom. So it's like to be able to get along and enjoy the company, because you're gonna spend a lot of time together. In
Oh
the
yeah.
years to come. Yeah, it's
Yeah, for
important.
sure, man. Yeah.
The chemistry is so important. Um, so does your band compose the songs together, or do you do the songwriting? How does it come together, all the songs, lyrically and melodically?
So, when we wrote our first song, it was me and Dave, the guitar player. We would write the melody and the guitar parts, and then bring it to Drew and Nick, and then write it as a whole. But it's late, it's kind of like uh, we go to our rehearsal studio, and we'll just sit there and jam something, or Dave will have a riff, and we all kind of write together. And then I'm sitting there playing catch up, writing lyrics.
All right. So the melody starts to come together first sometimes, or most of the time.
Yeah, and also sometimes it's like I have the title, and it's kind of like writing an essay. I have the title or a thought, and then I kind of build on it, and with my notebook and pen, and then bring it to the guys. And then with my lyrics, we kind of, what's the vibe of the song? Is it more of like a laid back beach party rock, um, vibe, or is it more like a hard hitting rock song?
Right. So it's a combination of everything. Then it's all kind of, like you said, a
Right.
couple lyrics. You might have a couple lyrics in your hand. You might have a song title. They've got
Yeah.
a riff, or a drum lead in, or something that just kind of gets it all,
Something.
and it just starts
Yeah.
to
So
flow from that point.
yeah, exactly. And then we bring it to Frank, and he helps produce it and the arrangements. But we get usually the meat and potatoes of the song, and then with Frank, he with all of his experience, helps it and arrangement, and all that kind of stuff that goes with songwriting.
Right. And I would wonder how you look at this kind of a situation with, like, so I write songs, and the more I think about, the more, I'm always up in my head about writing songs. Like, it's got to come out perfect. It doesn't,
Right.
and
No,
so hopefully as you guys write, it's like, okay, if this becomes a song that we want to record, then great. If it's not, it's just something else in our back,
it's
you
just
know.
exactly, yeah. And with lyrics, me writing lyrics, if I think too much about it, I have to sit down and take a break, because then I'm like, this doesn't flow right with my melody. I had to take a step back and then maybe go do something else, ride a bike, something, and then come back and then just not really think about it and write down what I feel. So
And do you allow yourself to, as you're out in your environment, walking around doing things, if something hits your head, like, do you get on your, like, on a phone and just talk into it, say something, or do you jot something down, or what do you do if something just inspiration at that moment while you're,
right,
you're at a restaurant or something?
I write it down in my notes app on my phone. If you see
Yeah.
my notes, it's like phone numbers and then just like a ton of lyrics.
I do the
So
same thing. I actually do the same thing, and I do a lot of voice, my voice memo thing on my phone. I just
yeah,
will play a melody, and if I'm near a piano, I'll play something, and I'll just label it just, whatever, just to have something. Because I found in the past, I think I would remember it later on, and I'd come back to it, and it'd be gone. The melody would be
right,
gone. So I always try to
yeah.
just nail it down at the time.
That's
So
cool. Something we have in common. Where I have my piano back there, but
yeah, yeah,
I started on piano, and I think that's what helped me. When I write a song, I usually start it on piano when I have my melodies and stuff, and it helps out great. Yeah. My dad, he started me on piano because he said, if you could play piano, you could really, it helps you to play anything.
yeah.
So yeah, picking up a bass, guitar, and but yeah, I write all my melodies on piano and record it.
I agree with that completely. The piano thing. It's like 100%. It's like, if you can play the piano, if you can, it's like a work table. It's a workbook, and you can see how the
Exactly.
chords fit, and you can
Yep.
visualize everything. And so I always am telling students that, always telling my voice students who want to do things, learn how to play the piano, or they want to play an instrument, learn the piano first, and then you go from there, because
Right.
it's a great foundation to have piano background.
Yeah,
Um,
and I learned all my piano. At the time, with school, I didn't really have time to have lessons for voice. I
right.
never had voice lessons or piano lessons, so I learned a lot of it on YouTube, and just learning how to play piano and just kind of picking up tricks and but it's been really helpful. YouTube's a great tool for people too, voice lessons and YouTube and.
Well, in these current times, not being able to do a lot of teaching in person, for April and May, I've been doing a lot of Zoom lessons, at the
Hey,
piano.
that's how I finished out high school, man. Was doing that Zoom.
Yeah.
So hey, I'm just happy, during this time right now where we can't really see each other in person, that you could still have some kind of contact.
To keep your momentum going right now. The band's got this momentum, and you don't, without the technology, some of that, like you're doing a show on Friday. How awesome is that? That you can still continue to perform and be in front of your fan base and grow your fan base until we can get back to the live, concert, the in-person concert. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
What is the most amazing or memorable show that you've done so far as a band? I know you said you sat in with Tesla the one time yourself,
right.
But like one of your shows that you've opened for somebody or shared a bill with someone before all this happened.
Well, I will say we played the California State Fair last summer, and that was just that was really Red Voodoo's first experience on a big stage, and we realized us running around and jumping and just we just realized how much energy we had, and the people were having a great time. We busted out all of our Van Halen stuff. We played Foreigner, Bad Company. We also played classic rock bands as well, not just Van Halen. So
right.
it was just a really memorable night. That's on a hot summer night in July last summer, and it was just a really cool time.
That's great. So how many covers, how many original songs would you say you have right now in the can that maybe not necessarily recorded and everything, but when you play live that you have just, to mix up with the covers that you sing?
Probably about, 9 or 10 right now. Yeah. And you'll be hearing some of those originals on Friday night. Hopefully you could tune in and watch.
I'm going to plan
really
to.
cool.
No, now that I know, I'm going to plan to. I certainly am. I'm certainly going to plan to tune in and check it out.
Man. Great show.
That's something to look forward to, like I said, So is there just a couple more quick questions here then? So is there any advice that you'd like to give people your age who want to make music their career, that just getting started? Like, we talked a little bit about your journey and doing this, but any advice you'd like to give them?
I will say this, if you have a passion for music and you love music like you and I do and want to make it, your career, no matter if you want to be like in the music business or an actual artist, you got to work for it. It's hard work if you want to earn it. And it's just pretty much that. You just got to earn it, and it's just really hard work, but it's fun. It's really fun.
That definitely has to be a labor of love in your life. Like you said, it has to be a labor of love. You have to be passionate about it, and you have to be ready to work hard. I've worked with a lot of artists over the years, and some are really, really hungry to be the best and to whatever it takes, whoever they have to talk to, whatever show a day full of, it's a lot of work. You're doing a lot of interviews, you're talking to people, your day can go from early in the morning to late at night.
Yeah, man. It's fun though, and it's just like, but it's fun because you love doing it.
Right. Yeah. So just to kind of sum everything up here that we've talked about, what is the most important thing that people need to know about your band? Someone who doesn't know much, they're seeing this interview for the first time, they don't know about you yet. What is it that's going to make them want to check you out and about your whole band's vision?
All right, so Red Voodoo, we're a California, party rock band. We're going to bring that good feeling, fun rock back into the mainstream, and for our generation as well as, of course, Kevin, your generation as well.
That's great. So I'm just to remind us again. So Friday at what time Pacific time?
Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific time.
Monsters of Rock Cruise.
Monsters of Rock Cruise, free concert. We're promoting it all week this week, and it's gonna be a great show. JT Lux is opening up for us with his debut of Lux, Red Voodoo's debut, and then also Frank Hannon and Britt Lightning of Tesla and Vixen.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you today. I really appreciate your time.
Kevin,
I know
that, Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. I wish you guys the best, and I hope that you come through Chicago. If you come through Chicago, and whether it be a Tesla tour, or let's hope for also a Greta Van Fleet tour. Let's hope you come through with Tesla and Greta Van Fleet. At different times, and you come through. I'm looking forward to hearing you guys live, and I'm certain to tune in on Friday for the Monsters of Rock.
That's great, Kevin. Hey, thank you for having me.
Thank you. My pleasure. Take care. Have a great day now.
All right. You too.